Aquarius, there's a silence that only the strong have heard. A silence that follows after you've cried all your prayers into the dark, and the only sound left is your own heartbeat saying, "Keep going." You've walked through nights that didn't end at sunrise. You've smiled when your soul was begging to rest. And still here you are, standing, breathing, glowing in quiet victory. This is not a coincidence. You are standing in the aftermath of a test that was designed to measure your spirit. Not your strength, not your speed, but your spirit. While others saw endings, heaven saw endurance. And in the invisible realm, that endurance became a key. A key that turned in a door most people never even find. Aquarius, that door has your name written on it. It doesn't open through comfort, it opens through courage. It opens for those who kept their faith alive when everything tried to bury it. You passed God's hardest test, not because you knew what to do, but because your heart refused to stop trusting, even when it hurt. Before we go any deeper, I want you to mark this moment in spirit. Comment below these words. My endurance has unlocked my destiny. Write it with conviction. Because this is your declaration. This is your turning point. You're not just watching another message, you're hearing the confirmation of what heaven already knows, that your endurance didn't go unnoticed. This message isn't meant for the crowd. It's for the rare souls who were pushed to the edge, yet didn't let the fire consume them. So stay, Aquarius. Let every word that follows remind you why the pain had purpose, and why what's about to unfold in your life will prove that nothing you went through was wasted. There comes a season, Aquarius, when heaven goes quiet. Not because you did something wrong, but because you were being studied in silence. It was the quietest battle of your life, fought without witnesses or applause. You kept showing up when there was no proof your efforts were working. You kept believing when your prayers seemed to fall into empty air. And even when you felt invisible, something sacred was watching. Every moment of your endurance was being recorded in heaven's book. You didn't know it then, but you were being refined behind closed doors. When life stripped away your plans, your confidence, even your sense of direction, it wasn't destruction. It was divine inspection. The silence you feared wasn't punishment, it was the sound of heaven observing your response. God was measuring the condition of your heart, not the outcome of your hands. You were asked to trust even when the light was gone, to give love when you felt unloved, to speak peace while your own soul was trembling. That was the hidden test. No one could see it, but heaven could. The moments when you chose faith over fear, forgiveness over revenge, patience over panic, those were victories unseen. Each quiet act of obedience became a stone in the foundation of your destiny. Aquarius, your endurance became the proof that your heart was built for something higher. You were not being punished, you were being purified. For before God can hand someone a crown, He first places them in the fire. And you endured that fire without losing your light. Every disappointment was not an ending, it was a classroom. Every delay was not a rejection, it was divine timing, teaching you endurance. You passed the test not because you fought loud battles, but because you refused to break in silence. There were nights when you sat alone, wondering if anyone could feel what you felt. And in those moments, heaven whispered, "Keep standing, I am still watching." Your tears watered the soil of your transformation. Your loneliness became the space where God could speak to you without interference. You didn't see the angels standing guard. You didn't hear the applause of heaven echoing every time you chose to keep walking. But they were there, watching, recording, celebrating your silent strength. You didn't just survive that hidden test, Aquarius. You transcended it. You learned to walk with faith even when you couldn't see the road ahead. You learned that sometimes the test is not about proving your strength to others, but proving your surrender to God. And in that surrender, something powerful was born, a quiet resilience that became your divine signature. A strength that doesn't shout, but glows. A peace that doesn't depend on answers, but on trust. You passed God's hardest test in the dark, and now the light that follows will reveal why the silence was necessary. Endurance, Aquarius, is not about standing still while time passes. It's about who you become in the waiting, who you transform into when everything familiar begins to fall away. You didn't just wait for your breakthrough, you grew into it. You became stronger in the quiet moments, wiser in the lonely ones, and softer in the places that once held your pain. Without realizing it, your spirit was being shaped into something heaven could trust. There were days when your smile hid the weight of 1,000 thoughts. You laughed through exhaustion, carried others while you were empty, and gave light even when your own flame trembled. That wasn't weakness, it was divine endurance. You learned that sometimes God doesn't remove the storm. Sometimes He walks you through it, not to break you, but to build something eternal inside you. You discovered strength that does not shout, faith that doesn't need evidence, and peace that doesn't depend on how the day looks, but on what your heart knows. You kept showing up, Aquarius, even when no one noticed, even when everything around you whispered, "It's over." You still believed, you still prayed, you still hoped. That's what changed everything. Your endurance became a sacred conversation between you and heaven, a quiet declaration that said, "Even if the world turns its back on me, I will not turn my back on God." Heaven heard that whisper. It echoed through realms unseen. It moved through divine chambers like a signal of faith too strong to ignore. And from that moment, the atmosphere around you began to shift. Your name was spoken differently in heaven. The plans concerning your life began to accelerate. Because when a soul endures without bitterness, without giving up, heaven recognizes it as readiness. And now, the unseen world is responding to what your endurance accomplished. Doors that were once locked are trembling to open. People who overlooked you will soon see the light that endurance carved into your being. Where others grew tired, you grew refined. Where others gave up, you discovered purpose. Aquarius, endurance rewrote your story. It didn't just get you through the test, it changed who you are at your very core. And now heaven moves differently around you because you've proven that your faith is not conditional. You don't love God for what He gives, you love Him for who He is. That's why your next chapter will not look like your last one. The old resistance is breaking, the old delays are lifting, because endurance always leads to elevation. And you, Aquarius, have reached the moment where your endurance becomes evidence that you are ready for blessings others only dream of. There is a door, Aquarius, not made by human hands, not seen by human eyes. It doesn't stand in front of you in the physical world, yet your spirit has been walking toward it your entire life. This sacred door cannot be touched. It must be earned. It's not carved from gold or marble, but from something far more precious: your pain, your patience, and your persistence. Every tear you've shed, every night you stayed strong when no one saw, became a brick in the doorway of your destiny. And now, your name is written upon it. This door doesn't open for everyone, only for those whose faith survived the fire. You have stepped into a realm that not everyone can enter, because this path demanded more than talent, more than luck. It required surrender. You are not who you were before the storm. You no longer crave what you once begged for. You no longer chase what doesn't hold peace. You have become quieter, more aware, more spiritually anchored. The storm didn't destroy you. It purified you. This door is not about worldly success. It is not a door to applause, popularity, or fame. It's a door of divine promotion, the kind heaven gives to those who have proven trustworthy in pain. Where you were once learning lessons, you are now carrying wisdom. Where you were once asking for signs, you have become the sign. Where you were once being tested, now you are being trusted. Few can walk through this door because it asks for total release. It requires you to lay down what is heavy: the expectations, the timelines, the people who were never meant to go with you. You had to let go of what you thought your life should look like, so God could show you what it was always meant to become. Every time you released something painful, you unknowingly unlocked another layer of this sacred passage. Each surrender created more room for the divine to fill you. You didn't lose, you made space. Space for grace, space for alignment, space for what's holy to finally take root. And now, the door that only endurance could open is beginning to shift before you. You can feel it, in the way peace suddenly replaces the panic, in the way you no longer fear what's next, in the way your heart feels lighter even when life isn't easier. This is the moment before the opening, the stillness before revelation. You are being invited into a destiny that words cannot yet describe. It's where everything starts to make sense. It's where what once felt random begins to reveal divine order. It's where confusion turns into clarity and pains into purpose. Aquarius, you are crossing into sacred territory. Not everyone will understand it, and that's okay. The door that opens for you will not open for the masses because it was never designed for the crowd. It was built for the called. And you, beloved, were called. You passed the hardest test, not by being perfect, but by enduring when it was easier to give up, by trusting when you couldn't see the way, by loving when your heart was tired. And now, heaven whispers, the door is open. Step forward with quiet confidence, step through with peace, because this is not just another chapter. It's the beginning of the life you were always meant to live. Aquarius, when heaven rewards endurance, it doesn't always come with thunder or lightning. Sometimes it arrives like a soft wind, quiet, holy, gentle. Not loud enough for the world to notice, but powerful enough for your spirit to feel. This is the season where your blessings will not shout, they will unfold. They will enter your life like morning light, slowly filling every dark corner you once prayed through. Because divine rewards don't rush, they reveal. You may begin to feel something inside you shifting. A new calm where there used to be anxiety. A deeper faith where there once was fear. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. You are witnessing the quiet evidence of heaven keeping its promise. Peace will arrive first, not as a visitor, but as a permanent resident in your soul. Then favor will follow, in small ways that make you smile without understanding why. Someone will mention your name in the right room. An opportunity will open that feels too aligned to be random. A door will unlock, not because you pushed it, but because heaven whispered, it's time. Aquarius, your endurance has become your divine signature. It marks you as one who did not fold, one who kept believing when everything tried to break you. And heaven remembers such souls. Every time you chose grace over anger, patience over frustration, trust over despair, those moments were recorded. They formed the blueprint of your coming reward. Now, everything connected to your endurance is preparing to manifest. The time delay wasn't punishment, it was incubation. The seed of your faith needed to mature in silence, and now that it has, it will bloom all at once. You may notice divine alignments appearing suddenly, doors that open without effort, people who carry exactly what you need, moments that feel too exact to call luck. They are not random, they are returning energy. They are the spiritual repayment for everything you gave without recognition. Heaven is a fair accountant, Aquarius. It never forgets endurance. Every silent tear has a twin, a coming blessing waiting to meet it. And now, that reunion is happening in your life. Your obedience has echoed through heaven's chambers. It reached the ears of divine timing, and now heaven is responding with precision. Every delay that once felt like denial is revealing itself as careful orchestration. You waited, you trusted, you endured, and because of that, your waiting will now turn into witnessing. You are about to witness the quiet miracle of promises kept. Where once there was emptiness, now there will be evidence. Where once you were asking, now you will be answering. Where once you hoped, now you will see. This is the beauty of divine timing. It rewards not the loudest or rather the longest. Those who remained faithful when no one was watching. Those who didn't quit when the world grew silent. Those who believed that endurance was not in vain. And now, Aquarius, your faith has graduated into fulfillment. You are stepping into the manifestation of all that was prepared for you. Not because you fought harder than others, but because you stood longer than most could bear. Heaven saw it. And heaven never forgets the ones who endured. There's something unmistakably different about you now, Aquarius. You move differently, you feel differently, and even your silence carries meaning. The world may not have noticed the shift yet, but heaven has. You've walked through fire and came out carrying light that no darkness can put out. You carry light differently now. It's not the kind that seeks attention, it's the kind that comforts others without saying a word. You no longer speak from hurt, you speak from healing. There is a softness in your tone, a stillness in your presence, because grace has become your new language. You forgive faster now, not because the pain vanished, but because you finally understand the price of holding on to it. You've seen what bitterness does to the soul, and you've chosen peace instead. Over pride, over proof, over payback. That choice alone made you rare. You've been broken in ways that changed how you love. You no longer love out of fear of losing. You love from the overflow of understanding. You know what it's like to give from emptiness, and now you give from abundance. You no longer chase people, you attract peace. You no longer beg for validation, you walk in quiet knowing. You've been humbled in ways that changed how you pray. Your prayers used to ask for answers, now they ask for alignment. You used to question the why, now you trust the when. You've learned that unanswered prayers were not rejection, they were protection. You've grown into the kind of soul that thanks God even for the doors that never opened. And you've been refined in ways that changed how you walk. You don't rush anymore, you move with divine timing. You no longer compete, you align. Every step you take now feels guided, like your spirit knows something your mind hasn't yet caught up to. You walk in peace, even through uncertainty, because you've seen what endurance can do. Aquarius, this transformation wasn't cosmetic, it was cosmic. It didn't happen overnight. It happened through heartbreak, through surrender, through lessons that broke your pride but built your spirit. Heaven sculpted you carefully, like an artist shaping gold with flame. Every trial was a chisel, every delay a tool, every tear a polish, until your soul began to mirror something divine: wisdom, patience, humility, power. Now when you enter a room, the atmosphere shifts. It's not because you're louder or stronger. It's because your energy carries clarity. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. It radiates quietly through your endurance. People sense something sacred in your calm, something they can't explain, but can feel. You are no longer chasing purpose. Purpose is recognizing you. It's finding you through people, through timing, through divine connections that flow without force. You are walking proof that nothing is wasted, that the pain, the waiting, the endurance all served a higher design. You are living proof that spiritual pressure births sacred diamonds. You were pressed, tested, stretched, and reshaped, and every moment made you shine differently. Now, heaven is positioning you in places where that shine will matter, where your endurance will open doors for others, where your wisdom will heal those still walking the path you've already conquered. This is your sacred transformation, Aquarius. It wasn't meant to make you perfect, it was meant to make you pure. Pure in intention, pure in strength, pure in purpose. And now, God is placing you where those diamonds shine. Not for the world to see, but for heaven's plan to unfold through you. Aquarius, listen closely. This is the confirmation your soul has been waiting for. You didn't fail, you didn't lose your way, you didn't fall behind, even when life made you feel like everyone else was moving faster. What you faced was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to define you. You passed the hardest test, the test of time, the test of faith, the test of silence. You endured the nights when prayers went unanswered, you carried the weight of uncertainty with grace, and you kept your heart soft when everything around you tried to make it hard. Aquarius, that is no small thing. To remain kind in the face of cruelty, to remain patient in the face of delay, to remain faithful in the face of disappointment. That is sacred strength. From this day forward, walk with this truth engraved in your spirit. You have entered a new realm, a place where endurance transforms into elevation. You are rising not because of luck, but because of loyalty. Loyalty to your calling, to your growth, and to God's timing. The season ahead is not about survival anymore. It's about sovereignty. It's about stepping fully into your divine identity, where you no longer chase what is already written for you. You no longer wait for miracles. Because Aquarius, you are the miracle. You are the evidence that pain can purify, that waiting can transform, and that faith can move what logic cannot. Comment below these words as your spiritual declaration. I endured. I am ready for my divine reward. Say it from your heart because those words carry power. They seal this message in your life. And if this message has spoken deeply to your spirit, remember to subscribe, not as a routine, but as an act of alignment. Because what's coming next for you, Aquarius, is too divine, too precise, too destined to miss. Heaven saw your strength when no one else did. The door you prayed for has finally opened, and now the universe itself is whispering over your life. You passed the hardest test. Walk forward, not with fear, but with peace. Not with doubt, but with destiny. Because this is your confirmation. You are ready for everything. Heaven has been preparing for you all along.